Welcome to the 20-Minute Gamer channel. I'm your host, Nick, and today we're looking at another great demo. This one is called Sin Slayers. A little bit of a tongue twister there. It is a game based around the 7 deadly sins, and there's mention of a possible 8th. So kind of going off script here in the lore department regarding the 7 deadly sins. Now, we're going to take about 5 to 10 minutes looking at this. At the end of the video, I'm also going to have like 5 minutes or so of just raw gameplay, me playing the game, okay? So stick around for that. But if you like this type of content, please consider liking and subscribing. You know, it certainly helps the channel grow. Drop a comment down below as well. Let me know if this title is up your alley. Let's go. So Sin Slayers is a turn-based RPG, and it follows a pretty standard formula. You have a team, in this case, a deployable team of 3 with multiple characters and classes to pick from. They each take turns based on initiative, and they level up based on experience gained from objectives and combat. Pretty simple, pretty basic. Sin Slayers uses a grid exploration and travel system when you're actually out on the map. As you move, you uncover the grid squares, which are covered by a fog of war. So as you move, you uncover what's in the grid that you've moved to. The fog of war does lead you into some surprise situations. However, when going into an engagement, you're almost always met with an action that you can perform before entering. You know, your paladin can crush the enemy. In some engagements, you can like duck out. You can just abandon it altogether. So it isn't a complete surprise, even though the enemies that you'll be fighting are a surprise. There's benefits to the surprise attacks. All right. Each character also kind of has their own little perk, their own little benefit when you're out in the main map. The warrior, for example, he's able to uncover within so many grid squares potential engagements, side quests, secrets, quests, things like that. These are counted down based on your movement. So you'll have 15, you move to a square, it goes down to 14. And I think they're meant to be days. I don't think there's really any information that supports whether or not each movement is considered a day, but that's kind of how it feels. Sin also has what feels like the makings of good story or lore. If you're interested in a story, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I know some gamers couldn't care less. I totally get that. We just click through story options because they get me to the meat and potatoes. I just want to play the game. Others, you buy the game to lean into lore and bestiaries because you want to know everything about the game. You're looking to play this for a long period of time. You're not just looking to blow $30 every month on a new title. There's a foundation here for that. I think they're going in the right direction with what I've seen so far. And I know that there is limited capacity with what this particular demo is offering right now. But if this is, well, this is a fraction of what they're bringing. But if this fraction is as good as the rest, I think you're going to be very, very impressed. I think you'll be very satisfied. Getting into the actual gameplay. Now, at the bottom of the screen is where you select your team. A healer isn't necessarily required to bring. I just kind of want to start out with that, since you do have an inventory that lets you carry healing items. However, I'd say that's an expensive process, okay? The healing items are going to cost you that crafting and all of that. And honestly, I'm just accustomed to bringing a healer because every team needs one. Having someone who's on your team and their specialty is healing the team, listen, the way this experience goes and the way these guys level up and the way their base moves are already, some of these guys are already putting out some serious damage in the game. So I think bringing a healer initially is going to be beneficial, especially when you're young. Bringing a weaker character or a character that doesn't necessarily fight and getting them into those experienced points, getting them to level up is always going to be beneficial. Combat is pretty simple. One standard attack and then one what's called a rage attack. That builds with each turn that passes, all right? You can choose to use them as they come, or you can hang on to them, all right? for the most part, barring any special circumstances, each character gets one shot at an attack. Effectiveness of attacks is also based on positioning. So in this particular example, my warrior is going to do better attacks going after the character that's directly across from them. That's a 100% power capability. So whatever your damage is going to be, you're going to be doing 100% of that power. And it drops by 25% going down the stack. So if my warrior happens to go after the middle character, it's only going to be 75% of his total power. If he chooses to go after the lower character, bottom of the screen, that is going to be 50% of his total power of attack. All right. So that's something to keep in mind. Sometimes your enemies are going to spawn and there's just going to be two of them. And I've personally had that where I'm rolling my warrior at the top, my healer in the center, and my paladin at the bottom. Well, my paladin isn't facing off against anybody and none of the other creatures are summoners, right? So I'm only ever going to have those two characters to fight against. Now, what's going to be beneficial, and this is kind of where some tactics come into play, you're going to want to go ahead and take that center character. If they're not a damage dealer, swap them out, drop them down to the bottom, because the two tiers, that first monster and then that center monster, they're going to have a decrease of power against that healer or that non-damage dealer now that you've moved to the bottom. And then you are going to be using two damage dealers in your first and secondary slot, your top and middle slot, against the appropriate opposing characters, so the appropriate opposing monsters. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so there we have it, about 7 minutes in, and I think we've done a really good job of summarizing what Sin Slayers Reign of the 8th is all about and what some of the gameplay features you can expect to see, at least in the demo, are. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let some raw gameplay footage roll. I appreciate you all for joining me on this one. Please drop a comment down below. Let me know if you've picked up the demo, if you've played it, what you think of it. I think Goon Swarm, I think they're doing some great stuff with this title, okay? If I'm honest, Goon Swarm means something completely different to me because I'm an old EVE Online player. So, I don't know, maybe, yeah, I don't know if it's the same people. Is it the same people? Someone tell me. It can't be the same people, right? I digress. Great game. Please check it out. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I will see you on the next one. Stay safe out there, all right, adventurers? Nick out.